All big changes start with a swift kick in the ass.
To another episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass. This is your host, John Curren. Today I have with me Luke Gilbert. He has a real estate background, and as I understand it, you are in the trenches. So you're not up at the top of the mountain. You're still in the grind, and you've been grinding at this for a long time, and you've really focused on sales mentoring and mindset shifts. Anyone dealing with any type of sales, real estate or gumballs, I don't know. If you're involved in sales, you're gonna experience rejection. You're gonna experience a lot of emotions, I think, through that sales process, and I know it can get to you. So the a mindset shift is important. It's an important, and I believe you believe. I believe it's been a
We
long day.
believe.
We believe it's really key to
Yeah.
success. So, Luke, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
And you also have an LLC, 2 Degrees North, right?
Yeah, I started that last year as a coaching program. So it's like, you mentioned me being in the grind. I kind of like that as a place to start, because if you are a real estate agent listening to this podcast, you are probably in the grind, because what I've learned being a real estate agent is it's a job, not a business. And it's actually really challenging to build a business as a real estate agent, which is why so many of them fail. I mean, the stats are alarming. It's like 85% of real estate agents don't make it through their first year, and the rest of them fail within the next 4. So
Did I just
it
hear
really comes down.
85% of the
Yep.
real estate
Yeah.
agents don't make it through the first year?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the reality is it's a sales job, but also you're a business owner. So when you get your real estate license, they don't teach you anything about sales or business. And then what they do teach you, you don't need when you get started. so, so it's like a recipe for success. You have to be stupid enough to succeed in this business. And there is a ton of rejection, but it's like trying to dig my way out of the trench is definitely something I'm after right now, and transformation in this business has been stubborn, especially against sort of a stale economy. So, I've had to reinvent myself several times as a real estate agent. I got my license in 2019, rode that first wave when everybody was successful. And then the ability to survive afterwards has kind of shaped, my current focus, which is building AI integration into software systems because of what I learned last year as a coach.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Because AI is affecting us all. I mean, with no
Yeah.
doubt. And I think it's the people who can adapt to it at this stage, who can really find new uses for it, have a chance.
Yeah, I mean the old mantra is like AI is not going to replace you, but real estate agents using AI are, and I don't think that's so far from the truth. I think why that pisses everybody off is it's a steep learning curve, and also it's kind of a scary thing to understand. So there's like 2 types of agents out there. There's the ones that are trying to use AI for everything, and that's a mistake. And then there's the agents that don't even want to talk about it. They're like, AI is the devil,
How
and
can you use
there's.
a how do you use AI in real estate? I mean, is it like writing the descriptions, doing research, or
Yeah, I think that's where most people are at with AI. So AI is kind of a crazy beast if you want to get
Mhm.
down into the weeds on it. It's like it's not that AI can do everything; it's that AI can take direction very well. So you could use it for what you can use it for, And a lot of people are using it to write descriptions, and a lot of big software suites are slapping it on top of what they already have because everybody thinks they have to have AI involved. But AI is remarkable once you understand how to dance with it. I am using it for things like ingesting purchase and sale agreements and creating summaries. I am using it for efficiency, and that's a great use. But that's like the smallest lever you can pull. The reality
Mhm.
is, yes, you can use it for efficiency. Learning to harness it and build around it has been sort of my study over the year. Because like I always think, listening to your podcast coming in here, it's always like, what was the swift kick in the ass, right?
Yeah.
I was teaching classes at the brokerage about bonus depreciation, and people just stopped coming to those classes. And then the brokerage gave a class on AI. And if you had talked to me this time last year, I would have told you AI can't run your business. It's a relationships game. It'll never get there. And then they taught a class on AI, and there was a waiting room. Like, you could not get into the room. And that's, if you're a real estate agent, you know that's remarkable, because brokerages are always teaching classes that nobody ever comes to. And the
I
fact
don't
that
know
you
that, but
couldn't,
that it's kind of a funny thought.
your audience does. If you're an
Yeah.
agent listening to this, you know it's true. The classes are how brokerages try to prove their value. And the reality is, like, we don't need more information, right? So anyway, you couldn't get a seat in this room. And that was this moment for me. I'm like, okay, it's either die or adapt. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I can remain a Luddite, or I can decide that I am right on time. And then I joking with the guy I build software with, is like, at that point I just started sprinting. Like, I posted on Facebook, Instagram at one point, like, the 5 AI books I was reading, and I said, and the caption was, "I'll see you on the other side,"
Oh
and
yeah.
that was late November. By January, I was in the middle of 3 software projects, and I just launched my first agent focused product, which is SMRT, which is SmartAgent AI, and it is a CRM that nurtures your existing database for you, which I would say a year ago wouldn't have been possible, but where LLMs, the speed at which they evolve is remarkable. And learning to train them becomes the secret sauce, and not even so much train them as harness them. So
Mm-hmm.
what I've learned is how to build around AI. And so agents that are struggling to integrate software into their business now have a solution that handles probably the most valuable leak they have in their business, which is existing leads. Because all real estate agents think they have a lead generation problem, and 90% of the time they have a pile of leads that's rotting in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that problem while I was coaching. I thought I was going to be solving lead generation problems coaching real estate agents. Everybody I was coaching was established in the industry, looking for a leg up, neglecting their existing database. So
Hmm.
learning to build for that particular problem, it seemed like the biggest problem I could solve.
Yeah, that's no, and I mean that's how you build a business is you find a need and you answer it. And
Yeah, and
it's
I think as a entrepreneur, the size of the problem equals the size of the paycheck. So, like, anybody out there running a business, are you solving a problem big enough, is a question you need to ask yourself on a regular basis. And I think that I'm still learning that, but this was the biggest problem I could imagine with my current skill set. And as my skill set evolves, I'm also realizing that it is just one of the problems out there that I could potentially take on, and there might be some bigger fish to fry. As you sort of walk up the hill that you couldn't
yeah.
see over, there's other hills.
Yeah, it's what I find is you just have to get started. You have to start taking those first steps. And you're going to fall down, you're going to skin your knee. You're going to make mistakes. That's all part of the learning process. It's really how you pick yourself up and how you show up uh,
100%.
for whatever you're doing. But what you're doing sounds really interesting because you you're in the industry and you saw a need, and you could put, if you're listening, you could put this down in the comments. Uh, you know, is Luke right? You know,
Yeah.
is this something that you have a real like a real gap, or I guess it's an it's a resource to you that is unutilized, really, or
Yeah. I mean,
underutilized, maybe.
when you start looking at the statistics around conversion, existing leads converted 5 to 7 times better than a cold lead. So, like, why you're chasing strangers, like,
Yeah.
when you have all these people you're already working with. So the reality is, anybody could run a business on a 200-person database if they did the work to continually follow up. But you run into this problem where you're like, well, 200 people isn't that big of a list if you don't know what the hell you're doing and you're not sure what to say next. So the system I was coaching around was, I called it middle territory. And it's like, if you're a hot customer, you get a touch once a week. If you're a warm customer, you get a touch once every 2 weeks. And if you're a cold
Hmm.
customer, you get a touch once a month. But it still becomes, what do I say? And the rule was you can't just raise your hand and say you're available, because if you're available before you've proven your value, you're useless, right? So
Mm.
the idea is every touch had to be consultative and add value to your customer base. And so I started writing a data-driven newsletter, which became the cornerstone of the messaging. And so every week I'd write a newsletter, and every week I would use text message outreach to splinter that newsletter to my customer
Hmm.
base, in order to never just raise my hand and say, hey, I'm still here if you're thinking about selling your house, because that's not a differentiating message, and it becomes really tired to hear that from somebody. Once a month is too often to hear, hey, I still am here looking for work. You
Right,
you look
right.
like you need a job at
And
that
it's
point.
like the only reason that you're contacting me as well is because you need
Totally.
a job.
And that's a great point, because what agents do is they default to pretending to have a relationship. And so they ask questions that are probing without the trust there and so it feels like snake oil. It doesn't feel like a genuine
Right.
experience. And so to overcome that, data moves for you. So if you can learn to tell stories using data points, the data itself will shift over the week, so that the delta you talk about, there's always a narrative. And so it really became like this. The study was, if you pick data, and I learned this kind of watching YouTube during COVID, people that had data driven assets on YouTube about the housing market were blowing up accidentally,
Hmm.
because their narrative was changing for them, and their story format became the normalized information around moving data points. And like, it just seemed really a smart way to continue to tell a story that's compelling, because you don't have to be interesting, the data can be. And how you tell
Yeah.
the story becomes your filter. And because data is everywhere, nobody wants your
And
data.
when you collect data points, you're also, it tells a story for you. When you're
100%.
watching the data, I have an analyst background. It took me a long time to admit that I'm like an analyst at heart because I
I
don't
won't
want to
tell
be.
anybody, John.
Oh, yeah. Turn your, nobody heard that.
Yeah, right,
Um,
right.
but no, analysis and data and, understanding what you're looking at. I mean, data can be painted any different way, any way you want it, really. I mean, you could,
Totally.
but when you're
That's
trying
a
to
feature,
search,
not a flaw, though. You know what I mean? That's a feature of data.
yeah, well, yes, that is very true. And when you're trying to look for something and you're keeping your eyes on certain, data elements, when that data changes, that tells you something, and you are in the know much faster. Um, if you're not in real estate or doing data or anything, you can bring this down to, I think, just a normal everyday level. And no one wants to talk about goals, but goals are things that you want to accomplish, things that you want to do. Uh, Having a plan on how to do that is going to carry you a lot farther towards actually reaching that goal. Um, and actually telling yourself that you can do the goal. Uh, if you tell yourself you can't, you're right. You can't do
Totally.
it.
And to tie that back to the data point, if you start tracking your own data, the goal becomes irrelevant. Make minor improvements in the way that you're living, and you get better. You will, by
Right.
default, reach a goal. So,
Yeah.
like, here's what I ran into. I tried to build a sales team. I was on fire in 2021, had a massive year, decided, okay, I need to take this job and turn it into a business, brought 5 agents onto my team. Every
Hmm.
week, I was giving them the data points, and they'd look at the data and they'd be like, yeah, but what does it mean? And so the
Yeah.
data itself, it's just raw material for storytelling. And to your point, you can knit any kind of sweater you want with it. It could be a halter top for all I care. The point is you have raw material. So they weren't asking for the data, they needed it distilled into the story format.
Hmm.
And that's where a data-driven newsletter became important. Your voice becomes the conduit for data, and it becomes the reason people are interested in the data, because your ability to tell stories around moving data points makes you relevant every week, as opposed to like,
Yeah.
here's my frozen blueberries with lemon juice recipe because it's July. Your newsletter actually has some sort of a finger on the pulse. And the goal of, like, it was a three-dimensional business is what I called it, and the data driven newsletter was the point of proving your expertise. Like, the newsletter written around data would prove your expertise. You'd send text messages to connect with your people using those data points. So every touch was consultative. And then your social media channel was a character presentation in order to prove that you're a human, So
Mm-hmm.
in coaching in that structure, it became accountability. Everything was accountability. How do I hold these people accountable to doing the actual work? Because if anybody would build that triangle, they would need no more help. If you built a data-driven newsletter and you text messaged your people on the cadence I described earlier, once a week, once every 2 weeks, or
Mm-hmm.
once a month, from the splinters of that newsletter, and you talked about it on social media, that ecosystem is hard for people to escape. And it's all a one-to-many, other than the text message for connection. Anyway, I'm deviating here. The
No,
point
no, no,
was,
that's okay.
trying to train people to do this was that moment where, first of all, being a coach was another job that I had. I had built another job when I started my coaching business. In trying to escape, what I liked about running a sales team and failing there was the mentorship piece. Let's package mentorship. Mentorship packaged was still a job. And then it was like, okay, if I could just do this for everybody, what would that look like? And that's when software and AI started to surface in my life. And like, it kind of took a little while till software and AI caught up to the ability to be used in sales. Because until then, it was just
It,
like a calculator for writing,
right. No,
and then it became,
it's
it's there.
advancing very, very quickly.
Totally.
And it's going to pass you by. I mean, it's not going any, I mean, it's not going away. It's not
Yeah.
going away.
I think what's important about it is a lot of people hear that and it just triggers the fear. So they stick their
Yeah,
head in the
that's
sand. The reality is like, AI is just the most appropriate human computer interface. That's all it is. It is simply like when the mouse was invented, somebody was probably pissed off, The same thing
oh,
is
there was so
happening
much
here.
confusion. How do they use a
Right.
mouse? There was mouse
Yeah,
training. I remember
exactly.
doing mouse training. I
This is my point exactly. We're in that inflection moment with AI where like it's a misunderstanding to think it's like going to outpace us and it's God. Like the reality is it's machine recognition with a very smooth language interface. I'm not saying it can't become smarter than some people I know. I
mhm.
know some pretty stupid people. I'm just like, the reality is like, it's not to be afraid. It's not something to be afraid of. It's like, when the power drill was invented, the guy who stuck to his screwdriver lost. It's just
That's
that
right.
moment where
Or
we've,
the horse and the car.
yeah, the
There are a lot
mule.
of people
Yeah,
who, yeah, who
yeah,
wanted to stick with or a mule and a horse. Yeah, he wanted to stay with the old way of doing things. I mean, it's with no doubt going to change our world. It is changing our world right now, each and
yeah,
every
dramatically.
day. There's no getting around this,
Right,
and I'm sure there are a lot of people that are scared of it and kind of frozen in their tracks.
right.
Um, but they don't. They should see, I think, it as a. They should look at it as a tool and an opportunity to. Gosh, when you start to interact with AI and the AI tools, it's amazing.
And when you start building with them,
Yes,
it's like we're on a podcast here. When the podcast came out, legacy media was disrupted, right? This is that same moment. It's like now regular people can afford leverage. Should they? And what it does is it puts you on blast because if you've ever started a business or hired somebody, you will in that moment realize how stupid you are and how bad you are at communicating your vision. AI, should you have already developed the capacity to have a clear vision and communicate it, creation is wormhole. It's completely collapsed. You can build whatever you want instantaneously.
yes,
And also, you can learn whatever you want as though you have a mentor sitting next to you that you can ask questions of. So
that's
people who
exactly right.
realize that, like the real estate game is all about leverage. AI is not coming to replace you. It is coming as basically a
It,
slave labor force that should you learn to utilize it, you are going to make fortunes when other people die on the vine. And it's just like, I don't know how to drive that point any further. It's like, here's the swift kick in the ass, guys. If you're not learning about AI, you're a Luddite and you won't survive this. And the job you think you can go back to won't be there either.
right.
And right now, there's this moment where it doesn't take that long to understand that AI is just human interaction with a computer. and you can build whatever you want.
It is really an incredible opportunity. Um, I don't know that much about real estate, but well, I say that, but I learned a lot from my parents. When I was very young, my dad set off. He had a printing business, and he was an old house that he had the printing business in, and he was tired of paying rent, so he found a building down the street, and and it had a hardware store in it, but it was pretty big and the hardware store wasn't doing well. So he bought the property that had the hardware store in it and then sectioned it off so he had enough space for his printing business. And he moved that in there. And then my mom ran the printing business and my dad took over the hardware store, ran that, got that going, and then
Love it.
sold the business and then collected the rent.
It's a
So
beautiful, I mean,
it
real estate's a huge part of how business,
right.
the leverage component.
So I mean, I know a lot, as a kid, witnessing that and being a part of that and learning a lot from my dad throughout the years. But I'm not that experienced at it. I've bought several houses and things, but I always had a realtor. But I've been looking into some property that I want to buy, and I've been using AI to do a lot of that. You know, I have a business plan I've been working on, related to, related to that. And you're right. Like, you have the most experienced mentor, the most knowledgeable person that you could find right next to you to ask questions and say, "What do you think about this? What if
Yep.
this is the case?" Um,
Totally.
and what I like is that I'm good. Like, I like what you said about the creation. It's a wormhole now, whereas I'm good at it. I have a vision. I can create a vision. I can communicate just fine. But I've been trying to write books for years, and I get started and I get like three-quarters of the way done. I mean, it's just all over the place. Um, AI has helped me focus. I could
Right.
say, how do I need to how can I best organize this?
Totally.
And you could throw in you could throw in so much to it. It's it's really amazing. And the more you use it, I think the more things you can find to do with it.
Yeah, and I guess like what I'd like people to take away from here is like you got to get a foothold in it, right? Like it's where do you start kind of a thing. And for me, like I was banging my head into it, and then a buddy of mine was reading this book called The AI Driven Leader, and it talks about AI as a thought partner, which is exactly the use that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the inverse of how people use AI, which is tell it what to do and ask it for things rather than ask questions of it. And it's a pull method versus a push method. And so as I read that book, it just gave me that, like, first of all, it makes you comfortable with AI, which I think we all need. We need to calm down about it. It's not coming for you. And
That's
then
right.
you also need a foothold in. Where do you start? Well, you start by inversing your usual use of the system. It's not, hey, give me a this. It's talk to it and interact in a question based format, like have it interview you. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of I'm
Hmm.
asking it for things, I'm asking it to ask me for things. And it helps through the thought process. So as I started brainstorming with AI, like I just started asking AI questions about AI. And it just became very clear to me what its capabilities and what its shortcomings were. And then I just started building software around to augment what I was managing manually, which led me to this kind of a deep understanding of, where it stops and where it starts, and then how it can be utilized.
Yeah.
Because like we've built an AI agent underneath a CRM here that communicates better than most people that I've met. That's not because AI can do anything. It's because with the right training, you can get what you need from it. So we put a lot of effort into harnessing an LLM. And why be on this show talking about it? Well, because I want to help people integrate AI in their businesses and take some of the fear away from it. Because if you're an agent out there who's experiencing FOMO right now, like how do I get on this thing before it runs me over? Or you're scared shitless and you just don't know where to start. Like, I've built something for you that you can plug right into your business. And then that interaction becomes the foundation of leverage for you so that you can go out and do the things you're good at, And that little foothold, if you're just curious about it at this point, the AI driven leader is a great book to start with, because it'll tamper your fear, and it'll give you a window in and sort of a foothold, a tool to start interacting with the system.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. You have to start. And I really truly believe you should be nice to the machines. I mean, I always say hello, good
Yeah.
morning, good
There's this funny
morning.
stat out there, sort of
Yeah.
like the number of billions of dollars that are spent on that return in token count, because most people start with the niceties. It's actually inefficient in the machine language. They do it for us.
Yeah.
And like, if you're a chat GPT person, which I still am, I go to chat when I'm building interface, chat GPT understands human machine interface better than any other of the LLMs out there. But it really is like, once you're in the trenches with these things, you're vibe coding across multiple agents. You're pissed off at all of them because it's just like working with people, and nobody's doing what you want them to do. You realize you're a terrible communicator. And it really is this mirror back at you of like, you can have what, and the world has always been like this. This is just another tool. You can have whatever you want, guys. You just have to have the clearest vision possible and the language to be able to communicate it. Speak it into the world and it will be here. This is as close as I've ever been to that. As a dyslexic electrician who happened to make $1 million riding the right wave at the right time in 2021, I'm back at it, reinventing myself, because the game has changed. And I think if you're listening to what's going on right now, you get to either bury your head in the sand or you get to start learning. And if you can get curious about AI, you are not late to this game. You are
Oh, I
early,
agree.
most likely. And if worst case scenario, you're right on time.
No, I agree. No, that's great advice too. And you know, it's a great analogy that people aren't going to stick their head in the sand. People don't want to change, and they want to think that they can get by, without. But it is especially if in the especially in the working world, if it is affecting all of our jobs. And I mean, I don't, it doesn't really matter what field. I think I don't know of a field
No, you're right.
that's not impacted
Yeah, some
in
worse than
some way.
others. But like, I'm here. I've spent the last 2 weeks direct selling SmartAgent AI. Like, I'm calling people I know, and it's kind of funny. You get these messages from people that are like, "Yeah, I don't believe in AI." Like, their belief in it's going to make it go away, and then like they tell themselves this story that if they implemented AI in their business, they'd lose trust with their customers. But then their customers are hiring agents that are using AI for the reason that, just like if you have a robust social media presence, you have a leg up as a real estate agent right now. If you know how to use AI, you're more valuable to your customer base. So this
Yeah.
story you're telling yourself
Yeah.
about how staying old school is going to keep the trust with your customers, you are simply stalling, and you're not learning the advantages that could actually add some value for your customers. So that's that. At this point, this is me calling you out on that, guys. If you're that agent and you're going, "Yep, that's me," you are not serving your people by not learning this leverage system. You could get your commissions lower. You could take on more work. You could serve more people. You could deliver what you're doing at scale. And the more people you serve in this world, the more impact you have. If those things aren't important to you, I can't imagine you're listening to this show anyway.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
like, you have an opportunity to leverage your impact. And this is a tool that you're going to need to start bringing into your business, whether you like it or not.
No, I'm right there with you. And I'm I'm not an adept user at it just yet, but I'm just getting my feet wet with it. But um I mean, that being said, I mean, there's AI built into a lot of the apps that I use and such. I mean, and I mean, I use AI to create the shorts for the podcasts.
Totally.
Um, and
Pretty
everyone is,
incredible what that'll do. Like, if you go to like Opus Agent Pro, you it'll build an entire animated video for you
Right.
based on a well-told story. That's crazy, dude. That kind of
I
stuff never existed. If you're watching Netflix,
well,
you're experiencing AI. How do you think they curate your feed? You know, AI is behind all the things you're using. Just because you don't realize that doesn't mean you're not already using AI in your life. You're just not utilizing it.
right. And it does make things easier if you have things set up. Like I'm very process oriented. So I know once I have a process set, I can trust the process. I know exactly where things are in that process. I know where things could go wrong, and I'm able to get things done. Um, but when you put it into AI and build that out, and it's all just taken care of, it frees your mind to think of other things and better things. So, it does increase your productivity and your work. Like I think that's what you mentioned, it's more, you can get more work. Your capacity for work's going to increase.
Yeah,
Because
it
so many
grows your
things,
container.
like in the corporate world, meeting minutes are a huge deal. I hate doing minutes.
Right.
But you don't have to nowadays.
Nope.
All
Put
you
the
have to do
recorder
is
on,
feed the
get the
recording
transcript.
into
Yeah.
AI and it summarizes everything and even probably comes up with some brilliant strategies.
Yeah, well, I love your focus on processes there because like one of the derivatives of my obsession with AI and the creation around it right now is I'm helping business owners integrate AI into their business. It's like kind of like building them custom AI employees. And the business owners that have well-defined processes are worth taking on as customers because you have to know. It's like if anybody out there's ever hired a VA, you have to tell them exactly what to do. It's not
Right.
about making judgment calls or they're going to make a system for you. You have to show them what you do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So this obsession you have with processes puts you in the driver's seat for AI implementation because I started implementing AI around the things that I was doing manually to
Mm-hmm.
manage process around AI. Like I was using AI as a thought partner, thinking long form. I'd run into the context window. That's when your LLM starts to break. You know, it hallucinates, it starts to run slow. You're like, what the hell's wrong with this thing? I was asking for a handoff, taking the handoff, copy and pasting it over here, starting a new chat, bringing it back in. There was a process forming. And then you can build software to be the conduit between process points, some of which require AI, some of which don't. People think AI will just do anything. AI will do exactly what you tell it to do.
That's right.
In fact, if you tell it to do too many things at once, it will do nothing or it will do everything poorly. So the software creation around LLMs became conduit, existing software implementation with a new tool. It's like now you have a power tool involved. When to use it becomes the study. It will not do everything. I've built systems where a single LLM couldn't do anything because we were feeding it with too much information. So it becomes when you know exactly what your process is, software can be the best point of leverage in your business. You build it once, it's infinitely scalable. Sometimes it's a better product than the business you're running, which is what I ran into building SmartAgent. It's like I built it for me, realized it's probably more valuable than anything I will sell in real estate, and started selling it as a tool for real estate
Yeah.
agents because I think right now people need that kind of help.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And to be open to that too. I think this show too has showed me that sometimes we do things and we don't think we just it's just part of what we do. We don't really think that much of it. It's not a big deal to us. But to the next person, oh yeah, that's a game changer. Um, so yeah, if and they can use it, but if you don't look at yourself and look at what you're doing and also look at what everyone else is doing, you won't ever make those connection points to say
Oh,
that would be useful or not to someone because you're in a bubble. Um,
totally. And it is a thought process. Like you have to train yourself to think in processes. So that's the first start. If you can describe what you're doing, you're halfway there. I own a management company. I was meeting with my lead manager yesterday, and I told her if you have a task that takes you 15 minutes, but spending 2 hours to solve the system problem would mean we never had to do it again. I want you all day taking 2 hours. I want every single time for you to build the system that makes the task, the 15-minute task, go away. Because those redundancies and
Hmm.
those we'll just work harder moments are unscalable. Every one of them is a bottleneck in your business. And if you can't start thinking through the lens of why are we feeling this friction, point to the friction, figure out where it is, where the sand is, and then clean it out. Like she does all this hard manual work because she's a grinder and I love her for it.
Right,
But then
right,
it's like, you can't replace her because nobody else wants to grind through that level of friction. And then you have to train them to think it's not about getting the task done. It's about solving the task so we never have to do it again. And like literally 15 minutes and 2 hours is a pretty good delta. Everybody's like, oh my God, that would take me 2 hours. I'm like, yeah, but then you'd never have to do 15 minutes again. And that's an upfront cost for a very
right.
long term gain. So you're delaying gratification, which most
Hmm.
people can't do. But if you start building your business from 2 hours to never have to do 15 minutes again, it compounds.
Yeah, no, that's I like the way you think about that.
Oh, good.
I really do like the way you think about that. It's like it's making you're making an investment. Time at the way we spend our time is it's it is an investment. It's the best thing, like it's the best thing that we can give anybody is our time. Time is precious. And if you can save time and never have to think about that again, I mean, what a savings. Uh,
It's like it's two-part too, because you saving yourself time, and yes, your time is precious, but also if you're anything like me, like you're not going to go to the beach, you're going to go back to work.
right.
I get to serve more people. Like the reality is, if I'm after impact, leverage is inevitable, or where I'm going is not possible. So then you start to think in leverage. Leverage is just a well-designed process run by an excellent system. So you have these
Hmm.
things that you can pull on. You can improve your process or you can improve your system, but you like processes precede systems. So if you don't have a process to run, you can buy brilliant software. And everybody who's ever built a web page has done this. They go to Squarespace and then they don't have any photos and they don't have any verbiage and they don't have any videos. So they use stock verbiage and stock photos and they build a terrible web page. Because if you don't have a process to run, the system is irrelevant. So stop focusing on the software you need that's going to solve the problem in your business. It's as simple as a Word document that describes the first thing you do, the second thing you do, the third thing you do. At one point I designed this system I called the 3 dimensions of process creation. It's like, what do we do? Why do we do it that way? And where are the bottlenecks? If you just put that lens on when you're looking at the next thing, describing why you do it that way is the accountability piece in that structure. Here's how I do it this way. I do it this way because if you can't tell me why you do it this way, you're probably running a flawed system.
Hmm.
And as you ask yourself the question of why you do it that way, you have to come to terms with the fact that you haven't really considered that. And if you haven't considered why you do it that way, then I can't imagine it's an efficient system unless you got lucky, which some people get lucky. But the reality is, start looking at every single thing you do that way. Some things can be handed off to AI, some can't.
Hmm.
Software without AI can solve half those problems anyway. So it's really like you don't have to implement AI to improve your life and your business. But once you've trained yourself to think in processes, the systems component becomes exciting because of AI.
Yeah, we really are living in an exciting time if you think about it. It's you could if with the right idea, you really don't there's very low barrier to entry these days to start a business, and the risk as well, very low risk with very high reward. Um, I was reading an article, so actually an ad popped up, it caught my eye, and it was about AI, and it was about social media, and about how there are people on Instagrams, say models that have a huge subscriber base, a huge following, and have paid subscriptions behind this paywall.
Right.
They're AI. They're
Yep.
not even real people, and
Totally.
and they're a creation of somebody who put this account all together, created a story
Yep.
basically, and used AI to better tell that story. And and they've got people paying, 20,
Right.
30,
Printing money.
40 bucks a month.
Yeah, and think about how scalable that model is. And I think a
Think
lot of
of
people listening are probably like, that's exactly why I hate AI, the gotcha moment, right? But that's again this thing like you're the creator, you get to decide. So you could use it to trick people, or you could use it to enhance your ability to serve
right,
people. Entirely up to
right,
you. And then what's your imagination here? What's the vision? If you can
right.
think about the vision and obsess about the vision and realize to get to the vision, you have to start thinking about your process to get there. And then the process precedes the system. Like, go make whatever you want. AI is simply a power tool that you didn't have access to before. It's like it made leverage consumer grade.
Yes.
What used to take hundreds of thousands of dollars, you can do in your room for two
Yep.
grand now. So now your garage is a laboratory. It's like 3D printers. My son's got a 3D printer. He makes stuff. I'm like, I wish I had one of those when I was a kid. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, what
Yeah.
the
Oh,
hell, dude?
absolutely.
Things that I couldn't even have dreamed of that would have taken like die casting and like,
Yes.
300 grand to get a prototype. This guy's building for 50 cents in his backyard. AI is a 3D printer for a particular type of creation, and it's software creation. And software is infinitely scalable at a global scale. So it becomes the quality of your idea and the ability to implement. Because there's this misconception too that you can say, make me an app that makes Tic Tacs purple and sells them to China for $1 billion, and that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not
No.
like that. It is like it's its own learning curve. Everything's hard. This is too. The upside potential of this opportunity outweighs anything else I've measured. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying that's the conclusion I came to. If you need a product that could be nationally distributed at scale, and it is up to your imagination to make something valuable, and you pick the right problem, you could make it for 10 grand and become a multimillionaire. I don't know where there's such little risk and such outsized return. It's a 3D printer for software,
Right.
guys. Now it becomes you have to be curious enough to obsess about it to learn the variables that can actually build something valuable. Because I jumped into it like, great, I'll just tell this asshole what to do and it'll print me money. And the reality is, it doesn't work that way. I
Right.
had to learn my tech stack. I had to learn the ins and outs of an LLM. I had to learn what it can and can't do. All of that took iterative failure. And now the success of that is I have a really strong prototype, which is the basis of a next level business model that may dig me out of the trenches we were talking about when I got here. Like,
And get you
if
up to
real
the
estate,
top, because
yeah, I
that's
could be a
right.
business owner in this arena versus an operator. And it's hard for real estate agents to break out of operations. Every entrepreneur who's self employed, which is all real estate agents, they're operators, managers, and salespeople. If you're lucky, you get out of ops to be into management and sales. If you're even better than that, you get out of management and you're in sales. And if you can exit your business, somebody sells for you while somebody manages your operators. Almost nobody in real estate pulls that off. If you're trying to get out of the real estate game, leverage built around smart processes and excellent systems is the path. That's all there is to it. And you might not even be able to do it in real estate, because I think real estate has a particular tangibility that may and the fact that it's a local business. I look at these real estate agents with these
Hmm.
massive social media accounts. I'm like, it's like being a house painter and advertising in Texas when you live in Idaho. Like
I've thought
that.
that as well too. Because I mean, I have real estate agents in the family and people involved in the industry and other aspects of it. And yeah, they have big social media followings, but they can only sell in one state.
Exactly.
But
And
I
like,
guess
unless your
it's
state has everybody coming into it, which, some states do, I still believe like social media is not the leverage point real estate agents think it is. It's actually a distraction for most of us. And I'm not saying personal brand. If you're stepping
right.
through real estate with a personal brand intention, you have foresight that a lot of people don't.
Hmm.
But chances are you'd be better off doing open houses and selling direct. You could build a referral business that will far surpass the effort that an active social media account requires. If you're the character, guess what? You're the character, dude. You built a job, not a business.
Yeah, that's very, yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And you do that how I've done it 6 or 7 times. I've built a business that turned out to be a job. Think about that, guys, as you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Are you
If
building a business or are you an owner operator? Because most people think being self employed is business ownership. No, now you have a job and a business. You doubled down on two things that suck. And if you don't have the kind of business that you could build your way out of, you screwed up. That's all there is to it.
yeah,
And I know a guy wildly successful as a window washer. But the reality is, like, he hasn't come to the conclusion that unless he's building a business he can exit, he will wash windows the rest of his life.
right.
That's a process run by an excellent system. And I don't think he's thinking in those components quite yet. So
I
I'm
think a
not
lot
saying
of
don't build those businesses. I'm just like local businesses have marketing bottlenecks and they also have leverage bottlenecks around personnel.
I think there are some people that don't see beyond that role. Like they're built to be a window washer,
And
and that's
that's
fine.
not wrong.
And that's not, and that's
No,
fine. Not everyone has the ambition. You know, Not everyone has the same ambitions. I remember back when I first started working in the corporate world. Here I'm this young go-getter, got my degrees and everything, all shiny. And
right.
I meet one of my coworkers. He's like, I just want to come in at certain time, do my work, and go home. And I don't
Right.
want to think about this place when I leave.
Yeah. Good luck with that, though. I mean, that's another story people
But
tell themselves.
yeah, but I could never do that.
But
Um,
that idea that you just get to leave it at work, like I was an electrician for a long
yeah, I
time.
don't think you
I'm
can do that
home
either.
thinking about the wiring systems. It's not like, oh, now I get this switch I get to turn off. And if you're out there, there's two ways to look at this. You're telling the truth or you're telling yourself a lie because you're scared shitless. And there's only two ways about this. Is sometimes you are the type of person that would prefer the comfort of a job over the potential of a business. And that's okay. But if you are the type that has the potential and you're selling yourself on the job, that's on you, dude. Like
Right.
that's that discomfort you feel and you're on vacation trying to get away from it. That's on you and you are required to reach your full potential in this world or at the end of it you don't feel fulfilled. So if you're lacking fulfillment, it's probably because you're of the type that should own a business but you're too scared to do it. This is me calling you out. Like you're not going to settle down, you're not going to find that peace you're looking for until you take the leap of faith and you are in an arena where your potential is possible, because it's not a job. Nobody's ever reached their full potential at a job. Most people are not capable of reaching
It-
their full potential in a job. And some people are there for exactly that reason. They're too scared to figure it out.
Man, and not to sound biblical, but
Do
your
it.
name is Luke. So
You
you
could be
just got the
biblical around
word
me,
of
John.
Luke.
And yours is John, brother. We
That's
got half the
right.
team here.
That's right, too. So you got the words of Luke and John on it
Right.
that you
Not
need to get
claiming to
your
be an
ass.
apostle. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
apostle either. Not even, no. But no, it's just, I think what you just said carries a lot of weight. It's very true. Um, it's fine if people don't, people have different wants and needs and everything. We're all different. And not everyone is ambitious. I think some people just want to, I don't know, they're fine with what they get and they don't, I don't know.
I
I'm
don't
not,
even know if that's true, John. I think it's
I'm not like,
possible. I don't know if it's true. I
yeah,
hear
I
what you're
guess
saying.
maybe like you said, they're telling themselves a story or
Yeah.
they've been telling themselves a story or maybe life's just beating them up so bad that,
Right. Which is still a story you're telling yourself.
right, that they can't fight anymore.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
life is happening to you, you've got the wrong frame, dude. The reality is like
That's
nobody's
very,
got it easy.
I did not expect our conversation about real estate to go this deep.
Dude, you
But
can't be in real estate without thick skin, John. I hope you know that.
oh yeah, no, I know because it's a tough business.
You don't get paid unless you sell something. There's no paycheck without 100% commission. You're a business owner and you're in sales.
Yeah.
It's a wild ride, dude.
But going back to what you just said, so many people do think the world is out to get them. And but that is not the case. And if you know what, if you were taken out of this world, guess what? The world's going to keep going. We are just a blip in the whole big scheme of things. Um, it's up to you to live the life that you want to live, and and I think some people are living the life that they live, telling themselves lies that keep themselves in that. But sometimes maybe you need to tell yourself some lies to get the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Um,
And a lot of times we're listening to the other lies we're told and it's holding us down, you know? So
yeah,
you have a lack of imagination if you think you're already where you're supposed to be. I don't care how old you are. If you're standing still, you're moving backwards. And that is on you. And the
yeah,
world is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And if you can't think around what I just said, you need some time alone to consider how you want the next 10 years of your life to look, because I'm not saying I'm so powerful I get to wish the next piece into existence, but you know what I am, and I'm trying to learn how to do that. So the reality is there is no victim that gets where they want or where they want to go. So you got to start thinking about, are you telling yourself the truth or are you telling yourself a lie? And if you have a job and you're like, this is what I'm meant for, that would surprise me. I've never met a
yeah.
man
I don't think
or
I've no.
like you meet the ones that are wearing the face well, but if you look into their eyes, you can always see that disease, that unsettled, I'm not sure why I can't just be happy with what I have, because you're not supposed to be. That's what it is.
Hmm.
Why on earth would you be already where you're supposed to be? I'm 40, almost 4 years old. I'm just getting started, dude. I'm like, God, I wish I'd revved it up faster. I wish I knew this back when I was 20 instead of burning my 30s to victimhood. Like, it is entirely up to me. If those things are true, shame on you if you're standing still. Honestly, shame
Yeah.
on you.
Well, it's interesting. I'm 59, so I've been
Nice.
going at this a while, and so I have I've I've been 40. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
And and
Young.
and my ambition was so much stronger then. I mean, my goals were much more loftier. Um, everything changed when I had kids. Everything snapped for me, and um, I became less career focused and more focused on me and doing what was best for the family. Um, I've always been kind of learning about myself. And I suggest that other people do that about themselves. We can never stop learning about yourself. And if you're unhappy with something, um, there's a reason why you're unhappy, and you should maybe give that some thought.
Yeah, and I
Um,
don't want to let you off the hook there, John. It's like I got 4 kids. I had the first
woohoo!
two accidentally, 13 months apart.
Yeah.
I was a bartender and a rock and roll drummer at the time. Got my
Woohoo!
job as an electrician to survive that transition. Moved to Idaho as an electrician to realize I wasn't going to be able to afford a house here unless I did something different. Made $1 million 3 years later being a real estate agent. Realized that it wasn't for me. Had two more kids because I felt like I had to give back. And what I learned having my first two kids is the only way I got to where I was that 5 years later. So the idea that focusing on your family means you need to make less money, I'm calling bullshit. I'm like, every time I've had kids, I've had to rethink my leverage position and I've had to redesign the way that I live in this world if I'm going to also reach my full potential. So if you laid back because of kids, you got plenty of runway left.
Yeah.
And Don't not have kids because of a career, and don't keep a job because, well, now I got kids and things need to be stable. Like those two things are two stories you can tell yourself. And then every time I meet a man who makes the jump into business ownership and succeeds wildly, despite the fact that he has kids, in fact, because of the
Right.
fact that he has kids, you realize like you get to tell yourself whatever story you want about being 59 and how the last 59 years went. And you get to be that 70-year-old, with $1 billion at the
Oh yeah.
beach talking shit. It's entirely up to you.
Well, I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I went to school. I actually went to school to learn. Like I went to
Nice.
college to learn, and I ended up with a degree in health science education because I wanted to learn and I wanted to learn about myself and about the body and all that. I figured that would be good, but I needed to support myself, so I started working in a hospital, and I really liked that, and I wanted to get into healthcare management, um, and become a CEO of a hospital. But then when I was in graduate school getting my degree so I could do that, that's when managed care hit and everything, like the middle management market, just went
Dissipated.
away. And here I was supporting myself through school and having that, no, I couldn't just take a big pay cut to get into that executive track. So I took a different route. And boy, I'm really glad that I did. I think it made me, I'm not really cut of the corporate cloth,
Me
but,
neither.
what it did is, getting that corporate job and the corporate work has enabled me stability, but it's also enabled me additional time to work on myself outside of work, still provide for my family. And I am an entrepreneur at heart. I was born from entrepreneurs. So
Totally. In
that's
your
been in
blood.
my blood. And I've always been, experimenting with different businesses and taking those chances and things. But here at 59, I'm not so interested in my career, and that's actually why I just I'll retire from that job. Uh, I don't plan on like moving up the ranks because I don't want the extra money. It's not about the money. It's about the time that they take from you when they give you that extra money, and they own you. And
And
I'm
like to
not going to
touch
be
on that
owned.
money part, like
Yeah.
the
So,
idea that they're breaking even to give you $90,000 a year. Somebody's making 300K and you're making 90, right? So
oh
the
yeah, so,
idea that like, oh, well, I couldn't possibly make more money as a business owner. I'd have to work longer hours and all that stuff,
yeah,
dude. Again, it's just a story you're telling
it is
yourself to
right.
make the job okay because it sucks and you're in pain and like you don't know, you don't have a pacifier. So the story you tell yourself makes things feel all right. The reality is you don't get rich at a job. Nobody does. And you
No, you
don't get
don't.
fulfilled there either. You make somebody else money in fulfillment. So at some point, you just decide, I'm sick of that bullshit. And if like I'm not hireable, you could not hire me. And not
Heck,
because I wouldn't come take a job, because if I did, you wouldn't want me there. I'm too disruptive. I have to have control of my thing. And I want to pivot tomorrow. If I'm going to go build AI software, even though I'm a successful real estate agent, God, who's going to tell me
right.
no?
Exactly.
Nobody.
I love it.
Freedom, unlimited freedom is the only currency for me. And when you start living that way, the money just shows up because it's a faith leap. You
Yep.
know the universe was always there to provide for you. You're not so important. So have an impact. Take the risk.
Yeah, no, that is great advice. I'm uh I'm biting my tongue here because I have a project I'm working on and I can't loose lips would be bad for me
Too
right
early?
now. Yeah, it's a little too early and I might have to back away. I mean, I'm willing to do that for but it does involve some property and then a business on top of that.
Let's go,
Um,
bro. You're speaking my
so I
language.
am, yeah, no,
My two favorite words.
yeah, no, it's, and it's so exciting. And, it's a dream that I've had for a while. And I finally found found that parcel that I want. But we'll
John,
talk about that
grab that by
after I
both
hit
hands.
stop. After I,
Grab both hands and shake that shit. Because here's the thing, dude. You're 59. You got a couple of shots left in you. And how a guy like you doesn't already have the business he's been dreaming of? I'm like,
you know
yeah, it's
what?
your moment, dude.
So I've been doing this podcast since 2014, and I love it, man. This is my creative expression, and this was always a creative endeavor and a kind of a passion project
Yeah,
because I wanted to help people get change their mindset. And like you said, stop thinking like a victim, stop thinking like an employee, and think of, you're the boss of your own life.
yeah.
Um, you have so much more control over your own life than you think. Um, you just got to take it.
Well,
And
last thing.
honestly,
I want to say one more thing because I
go
know
ahead.
we're running out of time, John. But the book Turning Pro, which is written by the same guy who wrote The War of Art, he talks about a shadow career. And it is such an important message for everybody out there. Like
Yeah,
you could live your life in your shadow career. And you might like, and I had a
that's what I've been
job,
doing.
I had a hobby painting fishing lures when I was an
Okay.
electrician. And the reality is like, don't spend your time doing things that don't have massive impact and money behind them. Even a podcast for that matter, as a hobby, it makes sense. You need a
Yeah.
distraction from your job, but as a vocation to have impact in the world, I don't know if you're running that podcast yet. I don't know if you have your hands around that leg of your business, which is, it's so insane. You have a tiger by the tail. I think you have done what you needed to do to make your current situation work, but I don't know if you're shaking the nut tree yet, bro. I don't know if
Okay.
I don't know if you're crazy yet.
You haven't seen what I'm about,
I
what
love
I'm
it,
up
dude.
to.
Oh man, I'm gonna stay in touch with you, John, because you got a fire in your eye, dude. I can't imagine. I can imagine you're underutilized for the energy that radiates off of you. So I'm like, give
Oh,
it to
dude,
us, bro.
thank you so much. Appreciate
Yeah,
that. That means a lot.
come give it to it. Everybody listening to this wants to see what you're gonna do next. You just gave us the best teaser I've ever heard. So don't tell us what it is and go do it.
Oh, I am doing it. I'm just not talking about it.
I love it. I love it, John. Thanks for having me
Hey,
today,
you
brother.
know what? That's perfect way to wrap this up. Luke, thank you so much.
Yeah.
How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah,
And
come find me on Instagram. I'm not a killer over there, but it's something I pay attention to. Luke.w.gilbert. And then I'm pretty active on LinkedIn right now. My passion project is SmartAgent AI. If you want to go check out that, you can go to that URL. I'm in beta phase on that right now, but you could also email. I had a young man reach out to me via email because I dropped it on a podcast once, and that I had an impact on his life, and that was important. So Luke at 2degreesnorth.online. That's the best email to catch me as a
okay,
coach and mentor. And I'm here, guys. Holler at me.
that's great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Luke, for your time. And I
Thank you,
wish
John.
you all the best of luck with
Thank
your
you.
AI. And yeah, we definitely got to keep in touch.
Yeah,
Uh,
please.
that's an exciting program and that you're building, and
Thank you, brother.
that's that's a lofty goal.
Yeah,
I
thank you,
know you're
brother.
going to make it. I
I
can see the
intend
fire
to.
in your eye too, as well.
That's
And
right.
thank you for making this episode so entertaining. I love,
Oh, glad to
you
be
know,
here. We'll do it again.
love it. Peace.
Take care,
And
John.
to all my listeners, please like and subscribe. This is John from A Swift Kick in the Ass with Luke Gilbert from 2 Degrees North. Peace.
Beautiful.
Hope you got your ass moving. Until then, until the next time, I'm out of here. Peace.
Este comercial es para convencerte de no manejar a exceso de velocidad. No podemos usar sirenas en la radio, así que usaremos otros sonidos igual de impactantes para que pongas atención. Si manejas un poco o mucho sobre el límite de velocidad, igual puedes chocar. Puedes lastimarte o, peor aún, lastimar a otros.
Estoy en escena del choque.
Y el daño que causes será irreparable. ¿Ves? No tuvimos que usar sonidos de choques o ambulancias. El exceso de velocidad no vale la pena. Traído por Netza.